Hi, Neil Lazarus here, and welcome to another podcast. Crazy, crazy, crazy. The world is going mad. Or, well, what can I say? It's a roller coaster, and just keep hanging on there. Let's see, as we're recording, we'll see what happens in America with the midterm elections. But in Israel, there's been a political revolution. Netanyahu is back. But not only is Netanyahu back, he's being backed by Israel's radical right. It's fair to say, and the critics are out there, and we'll talk about some of the unfair criticism as well, that today the government which is being formed is probably the most right-wing, radical government Israel has seen to date. What's the story about? I'm sure you may have heard the name, if you follow Israeli events, of Itamar Ben-Gvir. He is going to form the second largest party bloc in the coalition with Netanyahu. Now, Ben-Gvir, together with his partner in crime, did I just say that? Smotrich, are a party which is, there are two parties coming together. Otzma Yehudit, Jewish Strength, together with the nationalist Jewish parties, which is more religious. Ben-Gvir is religious. He appeals to a religious audience, but not only. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. Hold on. Let's go back. We're jumping in front of ourselves, as the expression says. Who is he? Why are so many people talking about him? Ben-Gvir is a talented politician. You can love him, you can hate him, but give credit where it's due. He's populist. He's charismatic. He's always smiling. He always puts himself in the front of where there's a conflict. So if there is a terrorist attack, he will be there within minutes talking about it. He has positioned himself as the radical but activist right. Somewhat anti-establishment in many ways, saying that the court system is corrupt, saying that the police are not doing enough to protect Israelis. His ability to communicate to a non-religious audience, unlike Smotrich, is coming from the fact that his father himself wasn't religious. He didn't grow up in a religious home, etc. He grew up in the Castel near Mavaseret. Ben-Gvir is important because he is probably the most radical person to come into a coalition that we've seen in the Israeli history. Some of you may be familiar with Meir Kahane, an immigrant from the United States, from New York, whose party, Kach, was actually made illegal for being racist. What Ben-Gvir did is something much cleverer. Rather than confronting the establishment, he seeks to overturn it from within. He makes populist claims that the judiciary is biased, is that it's working against the interests of the government, that it needs to be corrected. He also, whenever there's a terrorist attack, will claim that the government isn't doing enough. Ben-Gvir recently pulled out a gun while on a parliamentary visit to a Palestinian neighborhood in East Jerusalem and urged police to open fire on Palestinian protesters throwing stones. Gives you a sense of who he was. Remember, he was also the person who announced that he was setting up his Knesset office in Sheikh Jarrah, that contested area in East Jerusalem. In the past, he had called for death to Arabs, and he said that they should be expelled. Today, he claims he has matured and is only wanting the state of Israel to transfer disloyal citizens. That's a slippery slope. If you start stripping disloyal citizens of their citizenship, you then have to define what is disloyal and what is loyal. Again, somewhat problematic. Is someone throwing a Molotov cocktail disloyal? Is a Reformed Jew disloyal? What is a disloyal citizen who could be thrown out of the country? But his radical history goes back to age 19. Age 19, back in 1995, in the wake of the Oslo Peace Accords, he appeared on television holding the emblem of the Cadillac car of Yitzhak Rabin, which he'd ripped off, saying, quote, "We got the car and we'll get Rabin too." Rabin was going to be assassinated by a far right-wing Jewish extremist, Yigal Amir, a few weeks later. Again, given the 46-year-old Itamar Ben-Gvir, he looks back at his past, says, we've matured, everyone was different when they're 19. He only meant to shout at Rabin. I have doubts. I know he now wears a jacket. But we've seen that when he invited reporters to his home, he's in settlement in Hebron, excuse me, the journalist was shocked to see the picture of Baruch Goldstein on his wall. Now, remember, Baruch Goldstein was the guy who killed 29 Palestinians in the mosque there in 1994. His picture's put up on the wall together with that of Meir Kahane, who wanted to expel all of the Arabs and turn Israel into a theocratic state. So, maybe I don't judge people by what they said when they're 19. On the other hand, judge what people have on their wall and judge what they have been up to since. Put it this way, over the last 30 years, Ben-Gvir himself faced over 30 criminal charges has been convicted of 12 of them, including racist incitement and a support of a terrorist organization. Let's not mince words. Ben-Gvir is dangerous. He's dangerous to democracy. He's dangerous to the Knesset. The fact that he's smart and is charming and passionate and charismatic doesn't mean anything. There's many politicians, especially on the far right in Europe at the moment, who have the same personality traits. It's interesting. You can equate the rise of the far right in Israel with those of France and Italy. What I'm going to talk about a little bit later is actually, I think there's something else going on, which is in Israel, which is more worrying, especially if you're coming from the left. All you have to do is turn on Al Jazeera or any of the other news channels, and you'll notice that the anti-Israel movement is celebrating. Many claiming that, this is the true voice of Zionism. The reality is today Israel has a challenge on its hands. We have to be able to condemn Ben-Gvir, yet at the same time show that there is a different voice within Israel. The connection between America and particularly American Jews and Israel has been based on what we call shared values. The only trouble is that in the picture of Ben-Gvir and the rise of him, many American liberals and progressives are being remarkably challenged. Many people are saying, this is not my values, or these are not my values. This is not me. I don't want to have anything to do with Israel. What I think is important for anyone is to distinguish the difference. One, if you disagree with the government policy, that's a bigger reason to be involved in Israel, to make a difference, to have that conversation, to say we support the state of Israel, but at the same time, we don't support the policies of Ben-Gvir or Smotrich. That's the challenge that we face today. Now, again, it's not only a threat to many Arabs here, but it's also a threat to the LGBTQ community. The party Noam, which is a party which is remarkably homophobic, also is included in the list. So what we're seeing already is fears that the gay pride parade, especially in Jerusalem, won't be allowed to take place. That many gay couples are worried about whether they'll be able to adopt children or would have same-sex surrogacy being allowed. So many issues on the LGBTQ community, and their rights are also being threatened by this coalition. One of the things which I want to come back to, and let me give you the figures. Those people who voted for Benjamin Netanyahu, that coalition, was around 2,360,793. Those who voted against Netanyahu was 2,330,449. It's a difference of around 30,000 seats. So this argument, which is being presented by opponents of Israel, not critics of the government policy, which is fair, but people who are just using this to, in many ways, oppose Israel and its existence. They're saying, this is Israeli, this reveals everything that Israel stands for. You can't be a liberal, you need to oppose it. And again, the voting was much closer. So one of the things which you have to ask yourself is, what went wrong? From the left's perspective, what happened? And here I think there's two major things. On perhaps a more superficial level, we're seeing that Lapid failed to unite his forces. Netanyahu was brilliant, that's very good, for solving all of the problems for the elections. When Aguda and Degul HaTorah said they were going to split, and the Haredi group, it looked like Degul HaTorah wouldn't get past the minimum number of seats to get into the Knesset, he solved the problem. He arbitrated for them. So what we're seeing is that over and over again, Netanyahu managed to get all of his side above the minimum number of votes you needed to get in. Lapid failed. First of all, 100% ridiculous that Meretz, which didn't get in, the left-wing secular party and the Labour Party didn't unite. And the Labour Party only got 4. Also, the Arab parties split, with Ballad not getting in. So what Lapid failed to do was to unite the left and therefore lost votes, which in an election, every vote counts. That's number one. But I think there's something bigger which is going on. And many people have commented about it, and I think it's right, which is there's something happening within Israel which is changing the very character of the country. What we're seeing is the ultra-Orthodox parties are growing in size. Why? Population-wise. In other words, what we're seeing over and over again is an ultra-Orthodox population increasing. Together, Netanyahu's supporters, yes, Ben Gvir, spoke to a popular underclass, which were feeling socially, economically challenged and insecure. Look at Shas, the ultra-Orthodox Sephardi party, who went up in seats. They ran a brilliant campaign, talking about hungry for change. What today we're seeing, and the left in Israel is still in denial, is that their message is no longer relevant to many people. If the left is going to come back, it has to rethink what its message is. Is it just about fighting the occupation or so-called occupation? Or is it also going to be socio-economic? The cost of living in Israel. We didn't hear it from Lapid. Remember, they were in the government. But prices in Israel, like everywhere in the world, are increasing. Security. All these issues, again, need to become left-wing. I said it in the last podcast. I was stunned when Lapid called for the creation of a Palestinian state weeks before the elections. From a political point of view, it just didn't make sense. One, he was weakening and succeeded in killing Meretz and the Labour Party, and at the same time disillusioned the right-wing votes. So every politician in Israel always positions itself further to the right. I think Lapid, in many ways, spoke to his natural electorate, who he felt comfortable with. Bottom line, Yair Lapid failed, 1, to unite his side, 2, is facing a challenge at the birthplace. The population is changing. And 3, didn't take his political messaging to people who were not sure, may have were thinking of maybe voting for him and actually voted for Netanyahu. He failed to take right-wing voters. That's why he lost. So what we're seeing today is we now have to wait to see what Ben Gvir is going to be offered. We're going to have to see what will be split between him and the Likud. How much Netanyahu will keep Ben Gvir and the far right on a short rope, or will they be able to do what they want to do? Ben Gvir looks like he again, we don't know yet, but when we're recording this, wants to get Minister of Internal Security. There's also talks that he wants to get education. All of these could have far-reaching effects on Israel. Tell me what you think. We're interested to hear. So drop me a line. You can drop it. Send me an email at awesomeseminars2001@gmail.com. By the way, if you haven't joined me on Instagram at Awesome Seminars, that's also there. I'm now on TikTok with Neil Lazarus, 2 L's in the middle there. We're putting up a lot of videos on there. That seems to be popular. And also now I'm going to be back on the road. So if you're interested in talking politics at your shul or synagogue, just let me know.